Hey, what's up everybody? This is Chris with DigitalREM. Welcome back to DigitalREM Production. And this is the first video of the series of videos for creating 3D text in Blender. We're going to show you how to do it right here, right now. Again, this is the first video of how to create 3D text in Blender. What we're covering in this video is how to create the text shapes. So how to even add text into Blender and how to do that. So really beginning the process of creating these shapes. So let's just go ahead and get started. Boom, and you'll see here, you'll have Blender on, how we have Blender on our screen. You'll see here, this is how Blender usually comes. Again, it won't necessarily have this default studio. In our production courses, you'll probably see this default studio. This is something I have set up for all of my production scenes as a startup file that is included in my startup file. And we'll go over that in another video lesson. But currently, we're gonna just toggle the visibility of that off by hitting that eyeball, just so we will not be able to see that studio. And really, we're just gonna hit the ground running. We're creating text in Blender. So let's get started. Let me get comfortable. Boom. All right. So the first thing you wanna do, right? The first thing you wanna do, your scene will probably look something similar to this right here, where nothing's really there. Now, if you are, if you need help navigating your 3D scene, make sure you go to our Blender introduction course and see how to navigate, get a feel for how to navigate your 3D scene like that. So one of the things that I have noticed that I did change here, and this is something you might want to change for yourself, but for now, let's just go ahead and change it. So you're gonna go to Edit Preferences, and then in the navigation, we're gonna go ahead and put Orbit Around Selection and take the orbit around the selection and take the, let's take the depth off, right? Boom. So exactly. So now it'll orbit around the selection. Even though we don't have anything selected, it's orbiting around, you know, more naturally right now. But we will toggle that back on later on in the future. So notate that, go to Edit Preferences, and you can get to those settings, right? So let's just continue on. Now, this is the meat of the video for the creating your 3D text, right? So let's go. First thing you're gonna do is go up here to Add. It might be down at the bottom for you, depending on where your Add button is, but go to Add, and then under Add, you'll see text. Go ahead and hit that text button, and you'll see text pops up here in your window. You can zoom into it, whatever you want to do. Zoom into it. Now, you might be asking, how do you edit this text? How do you edit this text is simply go into edit mode. You can either hit this drop down here and go into edit mode, or you can hit the tab button, and the tab will put you in and out of edit mode. So just like a text in Word document, you see the little cursor, you can delete what you want, and let's just put Dream or DRE, DigitalREM, right? Or Dream, right? And then just go back in object mode. So all we did was type in, went into edit mode, deleted out just like we were typing in anything else, deleted out what we didn't want and added in what we do want. So we wanted DigitalREM, right? Boom. All right, so let's go ahead and flip this up to be more natural. So we're gonna go ahead and rotate this on the X-axis. And you can simply do that by clicking on the red part and dragging and starting to drag. Now a good way to get it precisely 90 degrees is if you just, while you're dragging and holding down the left mouse button, just put 90 degrees in and it'll pop up to 90 degrees. Or you could simply just enter 90 degrees here on the rotation, right? So you could just do that, 90 degrees, boom. And now to make sure it's straight up and down, like so, right? Boom. All right, that's the first step. Now I'm gonna give you what's the word I'm trying to think of? I'm gonna give you an example of what not to do. When I first got into Blender, this is what I did in order to try to create my 3D text, and I'm gonna show you why it's not beneficial to do it this way, and why I'm gonna show you the correct way to do it for your 3D text, right? So boom. The first way I did it was I had my text selected, and you can go into the text properties here on the right side, hit the properties, and you can see all of these different options that are available. Now, the main ones you want to pay attention to are Well, for now, let's just do some geometry. So you're going to go to the drop down, and what you want to do is extrude. Well, at the end of the day, yeah, what you want to do is extrude. Boom, and when you extrude, you see it makes a 3D version of your text. So now you have a 3D version of your text. Now, Chris, why don't you think this is a good way to work? Now let's do this so we can see why I would say this. Viewport, wireframe, boom. So we can see the wireframe, how this looks. Now you see how this text is built out. All of these lines go into a certain point, so on and so forth. So if you were to naturally extrude this, it wouldn't, let's say if you were trying to bevel the edge, it wouldn't give you the perfect beveled edge and things like that. And again, you could try it the hard way and learn later on a better way to do it, or just follow the lesson I'm showing you here. But we've extruded the edge here, boom. So we have the extruded edges. Let me see if I can turn the visibility down a little bit. Geometry, wireframe, the opacity down a little bit like that, just so we can see it just a little bit. So then, now that we have this extruded, this is the meat and potatoes of it. Because again, what I was attempting to do was I would convert this to a mesh, and then try to go in and bevel the edges and things like that, and it would give me all kinds of crazy artifacts and things that I didn't want. So a better way that you can go about this is, now that you have that extruded under geometry, when you go to your text properties under geometry, now that you have that extruded, you might notice this little taper object area right under the extrude. What we want to do is insert something into this tapered object, so it would calculate how to extrude this, not the tapered object, I lie, into the bevel. Let me find the bevel real quick. Boom, font, paragraph, spacing, object, bevel. So under bevel, under geometry, you'll see bevel, and it has round, where you can do a round, like let's say, you know, you have 4 segments and you try, and again, I tried to do it like this as well. And you could do it like this if you want to. Again, when it comes down to selecting these things, it gets a little weird. It gets a little weird in the selection process. But you can do it like this. This is the simplest way to do it, where you can just add a bevel and add a depth to it, right? But let's say you want to put a bevel on this edge or something like that. It gets a little trickier, right? But an even better way to do this, right? So that's just a simple bevel. Even better way to do this is, now that we have this bevel area open, we can go to object, and inside of object is where we want to assign what the bevel is like, what the bevel shape should be like. Now, this is advanced. This is kind of what I want to teach you for your production. Why you're even tuning in to DigitalREM.com, DigitalREMProduction.com, so you can learn these techniques. So what you want to do here is add a curve into this area. So we're going to go to add curve, and we're just going to go ahead and just put a Bezier. Just put a simple Bezier. And I like to, simple as before, you understand how to rotate. I like to align mine to make sure it's aligned properly. But for now, we're just gonna go ahead and make this straight. So you can S0, and that'll straighten that handle out. S0, and that'll straighten that handle out, right? You can select both of the handles there, and I know it's really hard to see that edge because it is there, but we're just gonna go ahead and subdivide segments, subdivide, and that's gonna add one more segment in the middle, just so we can see when we do add this bevel what it looks like. Boom. All right, so now we want to assign this curve to this text, right? We want to assign that curve to that text. I want to make sure y'all can see without my screen in the way, or without my face in the way. So you want to assign this curve to this text. So we're just going to simply pick whip, boom, and just select that. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Object, pick whip, select that curve. Like so. Am I not in it or something? Pick whip, select the curve. It's not selecting. Okay, let me give me a second. Let me see. Let me think. Why wouldn't it be selecting here? Ah, I see why. I have to select the text, of course. Select the text, then select the curve. Tripping. Sometimes it's like that when you're recording. So as you probably noticed, it's all kinds of craziness, right? It looks crazy. So what we want to do is go ahead and select that curve, that Bezier curve, and just slide it to the left and to the right. Make sure you're in edit mode. And we're gonna just select all of the points and slide it to the left, to the right, till we see like which direction it's moving. And this is where you want to try to figure out, align it to figure out where things are at. Now, usually in the x-axis, you'll get the back and forth. So now we just want to figure out where we need to rotate it to get the bevel, right? So it's not on that axis. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So we're rotated 90 degrees on the z-axis, and it's giving us the bevel, kind of how we determined before. Go ahead and move this all the way to the right. Go back into object mode. The thing I like to do is align this, so make it look like the actual shape. Let's move this forward. So you see, it's curving up here in the front, so this needs to be rotated 90 degrees the other way. And this is why I put that point in the middle, so I can see which direction this needs to go. 180, we need to flip it 180. Boom. So now we have it. So now this perfectly aligns with how you want to set your bevel curve. Right? So then you can just go into edit mode, boom. Now now that we have that set up, that's the easy part of setting it up. But now that we have that set up, now we can go in here and create our shape. Boom. Okay, Chris, why would you want to do this, right? You might be asking, or you might be wondering. I'm gonna pull it out here just a little bit. Chris, why would you want to do this? So if you essentially extrude, and you can extrude by selecting the curve, selecting a point on the curve and hitting E, or let's see if we have an extrude here. Randomize till extrude. Or you hit the extrude right here. And when you extrude, I like hitting E personally, so I know which way I'm going. I want to extrude on the X, so I hit X, and it's extrude on the X. Then I'm going to do it again. E, and I want to move on the Y, so I hit Y and extrude one more time, so we can extrude it inside. Now you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Now that you have that shape built, you can start to build out your graphic. You can build out what that shape looks like. So you can really get fancy with this design. DY, let's just move it a little bit like that. Just give it a little lip like that. Boom, and look how that graphic looks now. So now with these points added, essentially what we did, let's look at it from this point of view. What we did is added a bevel that goes around the curve. Then it hits this point, and this point is the same as this point. This point here is the same as this edge here. Then this edge down here inside is the same as this point, and so on and so forth. So I think you can get the picture of how you're building this out. And the back side, let's look at the back side. The back side, we ended off with 1 point, and that's essentially what's on the back side, 1 point. There's no extra geometry there. So essentially, you're able to build your geometry off of a curve. You're able to build instead of trying to model all of this out, kind of like I was saying before. When you try to extrude these edges and things like that, it gets a little wonky, and you might get something similar to some of these parts, like this here. If you get those areas, all that's really the only problem is that you're too far in the x-axis. So you just want to move over in the x-axis, either left or right, depending on which way you want to go. But move over left or right till you kind of get most of that geometry fixed. Like so. And you might have to move some points on your actual curve as well. But for the most part, you should be able to get it going, right? G, Y, C. Let's do this. G, X. Do this. I'm trying to see this little area. I'm just trying to fix that little area right there, because I'm having a little trouble between this area and that bottom area. And I think for the most part, oh, the M is messed up now. Okay. But I think you get this for the most part. Now, why I even point this out, you can use this in not only text, but you can use this across the board with so many different other things. So really just don't think this is only for text when you can utilize this for so many different other aspects of your production, right? And build out geometry. Boom, I think that's it. So I think it was giving me that little bit extra geometry, because both of these were kind of on the same plane. And we just kind of moved it up on the Y a little bit, just a little bit more. So boom, now we have digital or dream for DigitalREM, DREM, right? And the text, within a few minutes, we were able to create this text just like this, right? You can still go into edit mode and change the text, like change, you know, oh, I spelled that wrong. Let's put dream, right? Whatever you want to do, you could change it still, and it won't change the. You don't have to rebuild the geometry, right? Boom, and you can. At the end of the day, you can have a whole library of curves like this, and that's honestly probably what I'm gonna provide to our community, a library of beveled curves that you can utilize for your text. So boom. Other thing I wanted to point out, just like we can edit the text, you can also edit the font. So you can change what type of font you have. So let's say you want to go with go with a certain font, you can just go to the regular and select any of the fonts that you think you might like and just pretty much pick it like that. Let's do impact. Do we have impact? Let's do impact. Boom. So you might have impact, right? Or whatever you might have. And if you have this geometry issue, same as before. You want to go in, hit edit mode, select all the points by hitting A, or you can, box select them all and just move it in the X axis. And just, even if it's not showing how you want it to, just, move some of the points until you get it to where you need it to be. G, Y. That's not what I'm looking for. G, Y. G, Y. That's not what I'm looking for. Trying to keep that on the screen for y'all. GY. You can see how these little tweaks changes the way this looks. I'm trying to fix this GX. I want to fix these issues right here. Is what I'm trying to get to. All right, I see what's going on. All right. So what we'll do is GY. Boom, move that down. GX. And just get those points in there until you don't want. When you have artifacting issues, it's really because that the X value is way more than it needs to be, or deeper than it needs to be, and you just want to essentially move that X value until you get to where it needs to be. GX. So on and so forth. I think y'all get the picture here, right? Now I'm having issues right here. But I think y'all get the picture. Like, if you want to change your font, just go in and change your font. I'm really gonna perfect this because we're gonna use this as a jump off point to our next lecture. Actually, I'm gonna just back up out of all of this and go back to our original text. See if we could just find something different. Arial. No. Let's try. Elephant. I mean, you could really get creative. And look, this is how easy it is to create some 3D text. Like, it's that simple. And think, you can have a camera move around this or whatever the case may be. But you can really just get creative and not have to do much changing or not have to do much extra designing. So if you want to, you can go into any kind of online library resource and find the text that you want to use and build from there. That is what I would recommend. I'm gonna just go with our DigitalREM text, right? Boom. I knew it was gonna give us a little bit of issues. That's why I was trying to avoid it, but whatever. Whatevs. Now you can move it and move the curve in object mode. It won't affect anything. When you're in edit mode and you move it on the X and Y axes, it does affect. Unable to toggle edit mode. Why can't I toggle edit mode now? I don't know why I can't toggle edit mode now. But I think y'all pretty much get a gist of what I'm putting out here, right? You pretty much get a gist of what I'm putting out here. I don't know if it's because I'm streaming or what that is giving me a little bit of error, and we might have to just stop and restart the scene. But pretty much let's just wrap it up and get into the next video right here. So we're just gonna leave it right here at the default text, and we're gonna just save it and then hop into the next video where we show you how to apply materials, I believe, to this text. Let's see, what are we gonna do? We're gonna convert this to a mesh. So we're gonna show you how to convert your text to a mesh, because currently it is text and a curve, but once you convert it to a mesh, it becomes a mesh where you would have to edit it with the points. instead of, you know, with the curves and things like that. So you want to make sure you can get it to where you like before we move on to the next lesson. Play around with this, have fun with this, enjoy this, really get familiar with how to do this. Move your camera around it, do some rendering. If you want to render, just hit that render button at the top, render image, you can do that. And just play around with it. You can make some cool graphics and pretty much hit the ground running like that. Now, again, if you want to shorten, or I can't edit mode, huh? Unable to talk edit mode for some reason. What's going on, right? But if you want to shorten your bevel, just drag this curve. The curve mimics how we set up. The curve mimics, you know, exactly how your bevel is. So again, just drag it exactly where you want it to be. That's part of the rotating and aligning it perfectly to line up with your text. So let's hop out of this scene. Boom. So I hope that was beneficial to you, at least to get started with editing your 3D text in Blender, how to create your 3D text in Blender, how to make it the most effective and efficient way of creating 3D text in Blender, and really much get you started with the process of creating some compelling graphics for your brand, for your channel, for your business, for your customer, whoever, just for you, even for your t-shirt, whatever the case may be. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. I will see you in the next video where we will be converting this curve and text, these curve and text objects into mesh objects. So we're gonna make a duplicate and then make a mesh object out of it, and then start the process of doing production on that part. So we will be moving into the next phase in the next video. So see y'all there. Later, y'all. Peace.